Okay, folks, here's the first of the low-hanging fruit on the Russian medium tank line review. We're going to be ending at the K91 just to keep it straight here. But we must start from the beginning with the little MS1. Then from there you have a choice between the T60 and the BT2. The T60 and the BT2, the BT2 is faster and also girls in Panzer because, hey, that thing was fucking awesome. Well, it was the BT7 modified by the Finns, but we're arguing details. Then speaking of, you can move on to the BT7 or the T70. Okay. You've got a choice between the A20, which is the prototype leading up to the T34, is a little fun fact, and then the T80, which is a And at this point, you finally have to make the choice, because after all, you're pursuing a medium tank and not the light tank line, so you're going to go to the ubiquitous T34. Now, this is the first tank I'm going to actually talk about in some detail, because honestly, it's Tier 5 and everything else before you're going to blitz through in about an hour and a half to 2 hours. So you're going to start out with a base T-34 with a 76mm gun, nothing special. Then you're going to go to a 76mm F-34. Pretty potent little gun, good overall, and it's going to give you your good standard gameplay performance that you are looking for. Now, after this, you're going to be forced into playing the 57mm, which you are not going to hate. How many times have you been shot at by a captured KV-1, and the thing's just endlessly machine gunning you to death while laughing maniacally? This is that gun. And then from there, fully upgraded, a choice between a good 76 or the 57. Either or, honestly, they're both competitive, both enjoyable, just what depends what you prefer. Now from here, you need to desperately resist the urge to select the T-3485. It is a good tank, but we're not talking about that right now, because you're going to the A-43. Now you're going to start out with that little Zis-4 pecker, the little 57 fucker that just absolutely rapes everybody to death nonstop with no forgiveness. And your first package is going to be the 76 S54 after that, which is your top 76 from the T-34. Okay, yeah. Now you get a choice between either continuing on with that little devil pecker, or you can move over to the 85mm S53. So you're starting to get a feel for that T-34-85 gameplay, but of key note, the T-34-85 is a kind of overall medium. The A-43 is actually a high-speed little bastard that's closer to a light tank. It's a very enjoyable tank with some armor and really hauls ass. Now moving on, you've got two choices here. The A-44, which is the direct line, it's going to be the easiest to sort out, especially in your grind, because it's going to take you onto the Object 416. But before we go into that, we're going to talk about the black sheep of the Russian medium line. We're going to talk about the KV-13. This poor thing gets so damn neglected all the time. I don't know why. Well, I know why, because you have to go out of your way, and it leads to the IS instead. So again, you're going to resist that urge to go to the IS because you're a tryhard and you frankly want to play 2 Tier 7 mediums so you can get the Tier 8. Because hey, where's the fun in that? Now what you're looking at is essentially an IS hull. This thing's a chunky boy. You're going to start out with the 76mm gun that you know and are well familiar with. Now you've got the 85mm D5T, or you can go with the 76. The 76 will give you the higher rate of fire. The 85 is the more consistent and reliable tank. Now this is the special part of this specific tank. You have a choice. You can continue on with the 85mm, the D5T 85BM, which is a good performing, good penning, reasonably accurate medium tank gun at Tier 7. It's okay, a little low on the alpha damage, but if you've played British mediums or heavies, that's nothing at this point. And now we've got the 122mm U11 that you first get to experience on the Su-85 all the way down at Tier 5. Except now you have a turret and a highly mobile tank with okay hull armor. So if you can roll around blapping people for 400 plus spamming heat like a motherfucker, people fail to appreciate that. Now just remember that if you opt for the KV-13 line, you're grinding out the XP to unlock the A-44. Now this thing is a very interesting tank, and it's going to set up the remainder of the tech tree line from here out. You've got a reasonably mobile tank at Tier 7, has decent hull armor, decent turret armor. It starts out again with the 57, which is a little long in the tooth by this point. It's getting kind of useless. You're spamming a lot of gold to make it work. Moving on, the 76 S54, nobody cares anymore, and you gotta sit with 2 packages for that, unfortunately. It's gonna be a bit rough, but on the plus side, there's 2 things to look forward to. You have okay mobility, you have good hull armor, okay turret armor, I do emphasize okay. But here, you get a bit of an oddball. You get the 107mm ZIS-6. This is the 107mm gun that comes on the KV-5 in the Gorniche. This makes you a big alpha Russian medium tank. With enough hull armor and the ability to side scrape a gun, if done correctly, that can be quite enjoyable and interesting to play, and it helps you beat up on T-29s, especially the clueless ones. Although Minutemen, you're still screwed. It's Minutemen. Now we're going to take a slight diversion here, because at tier 8 we have the Object 416. Still rear turreted. You're going to start out with a Russian 100mm gun, which at the end ends up being the 100mm M63 as your final upgrade, and there's the 100mm D10T that you start out with. At first stock, you're going to have the frying pan turret. Now, this is the emphasis on this thing. In real life, this prototype of tank was actually designed as a medium tank. It is designed as a light tank. That is what it was intended for in the Scout role. Now, that being said, this thing has no armor. It has no turret armor, it has no hull armor. This thing depends on its mobility, which kind of sucks because they nerfed it back when it first came in the game. This thing used to fly. And when you get your first upgrade, you're going to finally get the rounded turret. You're no longer going to be the frying pan, although everybody still is going to call you the frying pan of doom anyway. The D10T, not a terrible gun at tier 8, but not as good. I wish it would have had the 107, but what are you going to do? Now, fully upgrade, you're going to have the M63. The alpha damage is that typical Russian 300, 320, whatever the hell it is. You're going to roll for 280 more often than not, though. Your mobility is going to improve, your view range is going to improve, but the biggest thing is you finally have access to that Russian 330mm heat pen. So now you can be that Russian medium gold spamming faggot that every single E100 driver hates. Yes! You finally get to join the fun, and at tier 8 sooner than anybody else. And moving on to the 430. Now the 430 shares more in kin with the A44 than the 416. This thing actually has frontal hull armor. It has good side armor. This thing is capable of side scraping, and the turret does have some armor, but it's not significantly great. If you're going to try to depend on it more often than not, it's going to fail you. Okay, moving on, the M63 gun, a very good performing gun. Now you'll have two choices in this. You can keep the M63, which has a slower rate of fire but is a more accurate gun, or you can have the D54. It has a higher rate of fire and higher base pen on its regular ammunition, but you also pay for that in an accuracy penalty. That's the truth of it. Do you want a brawling gun or a sniping gun? Either way, they both get the 330mm heat pen ammunition, so either way you can still be that Russian tier 10 medium in heart anyway. Although to note, this tank only has 3 degrees of gun depression in common with the A44 as well. You have to expose yourself, or you have to get creative in using the terrain and how to use it. And there's also the big note, this turret does not rotate 360 degrees, the same as the 416. These only have, if memory serves, less than 180 degrees of turret traverse. That's less than the T110E4, for instance. It can't look hard left or hard right 90 degrees. You're limited there, so again, this also is a bit of a skill cap and an annoyance. It's a trait that does carry on to the K91, which again is a side-scraping medium. It's got the high rate of fire, high accuracy. This is a tank destroyer more than a medium tank, honestly, because again, the turret doesn't rotate all the way around, and it doesn't have a whole lot of armor to take advantage of, but the mobility is good enough to be a troll anyway. It's a very different line. It's an expensive line, especially at 252,700 XP to unlock this thing. So it's a bit of a pain in the ass that it's going to take a while. Trust me, I know. I'm still working on it. I'm sick of playing the 430 because, my God, I've had every other Russian tier 10 except the K91. I'm sick of playing the 430 version too. 100mm D46T. Reload time 7.9 seconds. So with crew equipment and skills, you're looking at a rate of fire of close to 10 rounds a minute, 0.33 accuracy, 1.9 second aiming time with a moving accuracy of 2.54. Maximum elevation 20 degrees, maximum gun depression 9 degrees. This is significant because it's a Russian medium. It's one of the stranger Russian mediums there is because it has gun depression, but with the note specifically that it is only over the sides of the tank. It is not over the front. So you have to expose almost broadside on in order to take advantage of that, but hey, better to have it than not. Again, it's a skill cap thing where you're going to have to figure it out. Overall, it's an interesting line to do if you already have everything else, or if you prefer to sit back and camp. There are lots of you that do. It's understandable. It's an easier gameplay style, especially if you're newer, rather than just, running in screaming like you would in a Panzer 5-4. If there's anything else you guys want us to cover specifically, be it the rest of the Russian medium tank lines or possibly another nation, another series of tanks, let us know. Between me and Derp, we have pretty much everything there is in the game, or very close to it. And we will see you around. And Jeff, why the hell can't you just tweak this damn thing already? You're playing with every other fucking tank, but this one alone. What the fuck?